you tell I'm in denial?
You can't stay at the top forever.
I was also very surprised when I looked at my phone and saw Joe Girardi dismissed.
Well, I think mine were with common sense.
I think now belongs in the all-time greats top 10.
Boston, I really think only got to this point because of a guy named Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks.
That power play just was unbearable. It was humming.
Man, am I happy. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to come back.
When I think of New York Yankees now is Judge, probably people in the past when Jeter was coming up.
I would be shocked. A little bit hurt.
Hey, this is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, and Valley Sports Southwest. You are listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. We're going to review the wildcard games just real quick and then preview the division series. Wildcard. Let's go quickest ones, Austin. So let's just start with Cleveland versus Tampa. I thought it was going to be a second base runner. By the way, Cleveland won 2-0. 15 innings, scoreless innings. I thought there was going to be an extra base runner, but there wasn't. So I was like,
Yeah.
Oh.
Playoffs doesn't have zombie runner.
Yeah. So this could go on for a while. And it did go on for a while till Oscar Gonzalez hit a game-winning home.
Yeah, it was the first series, or his first game in playoff history that had to go into the 15th inning scoreless.
Yeah. So, but Cleveland pulled out. I think it was just because of the incredible pitching staffs, and there was a bad offense with Tampa. They just haven't been able to put it together this year, but Cleveland pulled through. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you and I both expected it. I just didn't expect it to be so low scoring, considering the fact that they combined scored 4 runs in a combined 26 innings tells you all you really need to know. Or 25 and a half because Cleveland didn't have to play their last inning in one of the games. But the only home team to win the series.
Wow. So, yeah, that was kind of the really easiest one, like cut and dry one. Now we can go Seattle, Toronto.
Sure. What a collapse. What an absolute collapse. They were up 8-1. 8-1. They lost 10-9. I don't know what to say. Kevin Gausman pitched well. And then they brought in the bullpen. Obviously, Kevin Gausman kind of faltered at the end of his stint, but he didn't give up all the runs. And Toronto should have at least gotten one more game out of it, and they didn't. Big home run by Carlos Santana, who used to play for Cleveland and was on that team that made it to the World Series. So gives them some much-needed experience on a team that hadn't been to a playoff series since 2001. But wow. And 3 of the 4 series, not only were 3 of the 4 series won by the road team, 3 of the 4 series were sweeps. So only needed game 3 and won the series. And yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, it was wild. I had predicted Seattle, but I just saw the epic collapse, and I was like, what? And then, of course, there's that blooper by J.P. Crawford where George Springer and Bo Bichette hit each other. I haven't heard an update. I think George Springer is doing better, right?
I'd assume so. We're not really going to hear an update because I bet he's with his own doctor, not a team physician. Throughout the playoffs, there's not much to talk about. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine, especially for next year. But that's a long ways away.
Yeah, and the pitching seemed to really help the Mariners, like their starting pitcher. Even though Toronto beat up on Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo was amazing, and that's why you make that trade. And now they kind of got another rotation that they will need in the division series, even though George Kirby pitched 1 inning. They still got Gilbert. But yeah, that's kind of what we got. Now, which one do you want to do? Phillies or Mets?
Let's do Phillies Cardinals first. Wow. Pujols and Yachty didn't play all that bad, but the offense, Arenado and Goldschmidt, I know this doesn't affect MVP. But right now, if it did, Machado's my MVP. Of the three top guys, or of the four top guys, there was four really contenders for the NL MVP. Pete Alonso, Arenado, Goldschmidt, and Machado. The only one to win their series, Machado. And there was a lot of great play by him. He hit a solo homer, but that's not the series we're talking about. And what a collapse again. Up 2-0, bottom of the ninth, with Helsley, the closer. A lot of walks, a big home run. I don't know what to say. Pujols got a hit in his final at bat. Yachty got a hit in his final at bat. Wainwright didn't pitch, but he never said that he was retiring. I don't know if he will. That's a real hard way to end your career. He didn't even pitch. If I were him, I'd come back, but then again, I never want to retire in the first place. But considering the fact that he didn't get to pitch in the playoffs, never really got that chance, I believe he would have been their third starter, in my opinion. If it went to a game 3, I believe he would have started. But he never got the chance.
Yeah, and you and I both talked about like Phillies. Like there's always a chance, but I was like, there's no way. And they really pulled it off. The collapse by the Cardinals and just the pitching, Nola and Wheeler were just amazing.
The starting pitching for the Phillies is amazing. It's one of the best, but it's only those two. They have two aces, and that's it.
Yeah, there's a heavy decline, but they never got into that because they just pitched so well, and the offense did just enough, and they took advantage of pitching mishaps in the Cardinals. And Goldschmidt didn't really do much, neither did Arenado. It was just wild, and I was just shocked because there wasn't even a game 3. I thought this would at least go to the game 3 if Phillies were going to win, but it didn't happen. So just shocking, but. Oh, anything else you want to add before we move on to Mets and Padres?
Not really. It was really shocking to see how this all turned out, but they weren't ready. Or at least everyone besides Pujols wasn't ready. Pujols, I think, played well. They had some guys that weren't big names, like Corey Dickerson played well. But again, you need Arenado to be Arenado. You need Goldschmidt to be Goldschmidt. And whether or not one of those two guys win it, the MVP, they both had a great season, but bittersweet ending, especially because they didn't even win a game. And in my opinion, you never make the playoffs. If you don't win a game in the playoffs, you didn't make the playoffs. Unless it's football, because that would require you to just lose one game, which it's a little different. But still, if you didn't win a game, did you really make the playoffs? No. Not in my opinion. And so there were 3 teams that really did make the playoffs.
I see your point. I would probably go like still you made the playoffs, but you didn't really, especially if you're higher seed, you didn't take much advantage to it and reach your ceiling or what you thought it would be.
But a part of the playoffs is the happiness and joy after a win. And never getting to experience that, you didn't really go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I see your point. I'm going to disagree, but I think we can move on. We can leave it there so we don't, and then we'll just move on to Mets and Padres. Because to me, the thing that was shocking was the Padres just beat up on Max Scherzer.
Oh, yeah, he did not look right, and they hit, I think, 4 homers off him. Machado hit, or at least that game they hit 4 homers. Machado hit a homer, Profar hit a homer, Trent Grisham hit a homer, and Josh Bell hit a homer. All I'll have to say is wow, and they lost game 2 in a game that almost they came all the way back. It was 7-3, bases loaded. So the Mets never really took control, and while DeGrom pitched good, he wasn't DeGrom, so he didn't pitch as dominantly as you would expect at DeGrom, and you really got to think, is that the last game DeGrom ever pitches for the Mets? There's a lot of question marks there, but we move on, and now Juan Soto, while he wasn't the major reason, the bottom half of that lineup and Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, who both pitched outstanding, were the reason. But Soto had one big hit, and that's all you really need. And the Mets go packing after winning 101 games this year.
Yeah, it's just a rough season for the Mets. Even though they
Yeah,
did one playoff game, but yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
That's
what
all
do you got?
good. But here's a stat I wanted to mention. I mentioned it before that I had a stat that I would like to mention. So home teams won a total of 3 games, which means road teams won a total of 7 games. No,
Wow.
6. 6? Yeah, 6. Yeah. So home teams went 3-6. Road teams went 6-3. And that's tough is all I have to say. It's hard to I guess it's hard to be at home, but then again, home advantage I do think matters, especially in the MLB where they have pitch comms now where it's speaking to you, and if you're loud enough, they couldn't hear. There's a lot of times you saw guys struggling to hear stuff, but the home teams never really could get their fans excited enough.
Yeah, and so I have 2 questions. Maybe I'll leave the second question later, or after this, because I know we got to go through the division series. But Buck Showalter and Joe Musgrove, what are your thoughts?
Oh, so you're talking about when he checked him for substances?
Yeah.
He's just trying to get any advantage he can, maybe put some doubt in people's mind, maybe shock his confidence a little bit. I don't really necessarily know of anything too major, but it is what it is. It's part of the game. But yeah, there's some great teams going down. The Mets are the first team in MLB history to not make the division series after winning 100 games.
Dang. Okay, so you have you're not he shouldn't have done that.
No, I don't have any too harsh of a reaction. Look, do I think he should have done it? Not necessarily, but am I extremely mad or anything like that? No, not really.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I've been hearing a lot of stuff, and I agree with it. It was just the Mets are we can't do anything. This is our last shot.
Yeah, and it's a sad way to go out because home fans, they really expected a lot. But now there's only one New York team left.
Yes, who has yet to play a game, but we'll see. But then my final thing is, so we had a lot of upsets. Home teams didn't win. First year of expanded playoffs. How do you think? What do you think?
I don't know. I have to think about it. Do I hate it? No. Do I necessarily love it? No. I don't think a team with 87 wins should make the playoffs. I don't think a team under 90 wins should ever make the playoffs, but we had 2 of those teams. And so it does question a little bit the validity of those playoff spots. But I definitely wouldn't expand more. I'm okay with it right now. I'm content.
Okay, I'm kind of in the same boat. My thing is, how do the Phillies do well in the division series? Are they going to get blown out? Then I'm going to be like, okay, that's where we see a difference. But if they're still competitive throughout the playoffs, I'm like, okay, so maybe the major league didn't do something wrong. May have done something right.
We'll still have to see. And I'm excited for this is one of my favorite times of the year. The playoffs and any playoffs in general made me really excited, really happy. But that's especially here, and I can't wait for my Yankees to play, and we'll have to see. The Guardians have great pitching, so I'm not saying we're going to win the series outright. Definitely, obviously, I think we will. We've already seen the predictions, but we both went 2-2. If you kept track, I got 2. I got Padres and Guardians. You got Guardians and Mariners.
Yes.
So we both got wrong the Phillies, and then you got wrong Mets. I got wrong Toronto. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it was like you got an upset, I got an upset, and then we just missed on the Philadelphia. Um, yeah, I think I was really like I didn't really know the Padres and Mets, and I went Mets, and I just guessed wrong. But I think we can go to the division series where you already talked about Cleveland Yankees. I think Yankees are going to win this, even though Cleveland does have good pitching. Their last series against Tampa really made me question their
offense.
offense. Yeah,
I don't know. And while people are mad that Cole's starting game one, Cole's going against their third. And so while Cole does have a slightly worse ERA and gives up a lot of homers, the Guardians don't hit many homers. They're, I think, 29th or 25th. I know the Rays were 25th or 29th, and the Guardians were 25th or 29th. I'm pretty sure the Guardians are 25th in homers this year. They're the first team since the 2015 Royals. This was the stat I wanted to bring up. The first team since the 2015 Royals to hit under 180 homers and win a series. So that 2015 Royals team obviously won the World Series, but you don't see teams that don't rely on the home run ball at all. But then all of their runs scored this weekend, all of them were off of the homer, all 3 runs. Jose Ramirez hit a 2-run home run, and Oscar Gonzalez hit a 15th inning solo bomb to walk him off. But both sides, they struggle, but their pitching's really good, and that will have to carry them. If they win this series, it's going to have to be a pitch fest, because if you let Judge and the Bronx Bombers get going, a team that led the league in homers, there's going to be some problems.
yes, and Matt Carpenter's coming back. Should be coming back, so that's a huge boost for that Yankees offense. But I still agree. I'm going to stay with my pick. Yankees win. And then I'm going to stay with my pick with Houston and Seattle because I predict the series. I'm going to stick with Houston, even though it may be tough just given the pitching from Seattle.
I'm going to agree with you. That 10-9 game worries me if I'm Seattle, because Houston's not going to allow that. That's not a Houston thing to do. Seattle lost a game where they were up 10 runs this year. They were up 11-1 to Kansas City and lost 13-12. They can give up runs in a hurry, and Houston's not going to allow that. I just didn't think Toronto had that collapse in them. So we'll have to see. And then do you want to give the times for these games?
Yes. So we have Tuesday. You have Houston, Seattle, 3:37 p.m. Then they will play Thursday. Same with Yankees. Yankees and Cleveland play Tuesday, then Thursday, then Saturday, and then Sunday, if that's to be determined, because that's game 5.
Well, Monday's game 5, yeah.
Monday's game 5.
So they play
Houston.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at Phillies, Atlanta, my bad. So, yeah. That's the AL. I'm very excited to see what happens. Yankees, to me, will be interesting because you do have Judge, but will the other offense come to spark? Astros and Seattle is going to be a pitching fest. I know Verlander is starting game 1. I'm not sure about Seattle if they've announced that yet.
It'll probably be Gilbert, considering the fact that they pitched Kirby against Toronto.
Yeah. The one game starter I know for sure is Clevenger versus Urias, which is a rough way to start for the Padres because Clevenger has not done well recently.
Yeah, but it is what it is, and they're just glad they moved on.
Yes,
but
that's
for
very
that series, 5-14, the record the Padres had against the Dodgers this year. 5-14. Now, will that similarity help them? Probably, but I still have them getting swept. I don't trust their depth pitching. Blake Snell struggled. While they do have great starters and Josh Hader, who struggled this year, I don't trust their bullpen enough for them to get through this series. I think the Dodgers just have too much firepower.
I think the Padres steal one game because you do have Darvish and Musgrove, but I think they're going to fall behind the 8 ball with Clevenger starting game 1. I think Musgrove or Darvish, one of them is going to pitch well, and they're going to be able to do well offensively. Soto still struggling. But maybe he unlocks something and then they go on a run. I'm curious to see how this affects the future of Tatis, because they're without Tatis and they're doing well. They finally won a playoff series, made it to the playoffs. Maybe Tatis goes, okay, I'll get my work in and we can do better.
We'll see. I mean, the Braves did the same thing last year without Acuna. Obviously, not the same circumstances, but
could happen.
There is some comparison.
Yep. Speaking of the Braves, another segue into Braves versus Phillies. I just hope this is a close series.
I don't think it's going to be because Ranger Suarez is starting, and then you're probably only going to get 2 games out of Nola plus Wheeler, and you really need 3. The starting pitching, Kyle Wright plus Max Fried plus Spencer Strider, who's back. It would have to be a special performance from the Phillies to get this done. And even against the Cardinals, besides a 1/9 inning where they went off, and then they only scored 2 runs the next game. So I don't think they have enough offense to stop guys like or Swanson plus Riley plus Harris plus Acuna, Olsen, Albies. It just adds up.
Yeah, I agree. I still think the Braves win. Maybe the Phillies steal game 1, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's just a blowout. Speaking of Strider, are you taking the deal? If you're offered the deal.
Well, obviously he already did, but I'd still say no, probably.
Dang. I'm taking it. Like, I already took the Harris deal. I'm taking this deal because it's $92 million over 7 years. But yeah, I was curious what your thoughts were. So he's been not you would advise him, if you're going in the past, to do not take the deal. Bet on yourself.
Well, I don't know the future, so it'd be a waste of going back into the past. But I do understand your point. If I had to talk to him previous to this deal, I would certainly tell him, hey, think about it. At least I'd tell him to think about it.
Okay. I wanted to hear your thoughts. So that concludes our postseason. And that's so we would have LA versus Atlanta, Yankees versus Astros.
Yeah, we both agree on both sides.
Yeah, so that's what we predict. But based on our predictions last time, didn't really turn out all the way right. So make sure to check out that video. That's all we got. Thank you for listening, and have a great MLB playoffs.